So today I want to talk about one of my experiences with a disciple of a saint, of a mystic. It was like roughly a year back um, when there's this full moon on every full moon. There's this place called Thiruvannamalai in Tamil Nadu. If you don't know, it's the southernmost state of India. So there's this place called Thiruvannamalai, and on every full moon, people. So what is exactly there in Thiruvannamalai is it is basically very famous for the temple of Lord Shiva. So the Hinduism has these five elements: the fire, air, water, the earth, and the sky. So this abode of Lord Shiva is the representation of the fire. So they call it the Agni Sthalam. It's the representation of fire. So there's this mountain which is the most famous, and very near to the mountain is this temple. And this mountain is itself considered as Lord Shiva. So on every full moon, lakhs of people, or let's say even millions of people, they go around this temple. So that path around the hill is roughly like 14 kilometers. So people go around this mountain or hill, right? So basically, Thiruvannamalai is a really mystical place. For centuries, a lot of saints, a lot of mystics, religious people have lived there. If you even go to that place, you'll feel totally different. It's a totally different vibe, or it's a totally different energy. So I was living in Chennai, and I used to go to Tiruvannamalai on every full moon, and I used to go on a bus. So just on the way from Chennai to Tiruvannamalai. So I started Chennai and I go to Tiruvannamalai. Just on the way, I could feel it. It was a totally different energy. It was like so soothing. I mean, I cannot explain it. It just have to be. It just has to be experienced. So there is this kind of something about this place. It's kind of a high vibrational place. So, and that has attracted a lot of saints and mystics to live in that place. So if you go around this mountain that I just mentioned, you'll find a lot of ashrams, meaning the place like a gathering kind of place, or a lot of temples, a lot of places where the saints live, which are now converted into kind of again like a temple come a stake, a sort of place. So there are a lot of these kind of ashrams. So this is especially one of my experiences. There have been a lot of experiences which I'll cover in later videos. So one day on one full moon I was walking, and it was a very early morning, like around like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and there was this small temple, and this temple was in this temple, like a century back, a saint named Adimudi Siddhar lived. So I've been to this place. I've before also, but I've not really had any sort of an experience. So there was this one time when I was going, I just had a feeling that I had to go to this place. It was early morning, and generally that place is really crowded on a regular full moon. But this was early morning, so I actually started late. So I reached that place in the early morning, and there was no crowd. So I went to that temple. It's a very small temple. It just has just not a big thing. It's just a small kind of a house kind of a thing. It's a temple. It just has a very small area. So I entered the temple, and I was just sitting there. So there's this, let's say, let's say there's here is the deity, And so I there's this small place where you can sit, and I was sitting here at one of the corners. So on the opposite corner, there was a priest who was sitting. So he basically takes care of this temple, and he discharges various puja and does a lot of takes care of the temple. So just time went by. I just wanted to sit there, and I didn't really have anything to ask. I mean, I did, but I was a lot of things were going on in my mind at that time. So just so I've been seeking truth for a long time, and just now I'm digressing a little bit. I'll come back to the to our initial thing. So just to give you a context of what I'm speaking, right? So I've been seeking truth for a very long time. I used to read scriptures. I went behind. I used to attend a lot of lectures. I met priests, saints, mystics, disciples, and I used to fire a lot of questions. So and after seeking the truth for so long, just now this truth has begun to set in, and I've been realizing who God is, or the higher self is, who and what is it like to experience God. So just now I've been given a kind of a little introduction, but so why I was saying that is because just this event that I've been talking about, right? It just happened like roughly a year back, and so at that time my craze was so much. It was like so much. I was anyone whom I feel was like someone who had this knowledge of the truth. Any saint, any mystic, any disciple, I used to fire like 100 questions, asking them uh, on everything, on anything regarding the truth. So this was that time. So I was so crazy, so intense, so I wanted to know the truth. So this incident happened during that time, and so yeah. So I was just so coming back. So I was just sitting there, and a lot of these thoughts about truth were going on. So that's why I had to digress. So a lot of these thoughts were going on in my mind, and the priest was also observing me. He was just sitting there. He didn't really talk. And then and then I had to break the silence, and I finally decided to talk to him, and I asked him about the saint. So as I said, right, this temple was about the saint. So he went on to explaining how he was related to the saint. His um, I don't remember to 100%, but if I'm not wrong, so he was so his forefathers, his ancestors were one of the very close associates. They lived with the saint, so they have a sort of a connection with the saint. So I was asking him about the saint, and again asked these questions about truth. And one thing I was at that point of time I was really wanting or wanted to experience was I really wanted to meet an enlightened person. I was so I've heard stories about all enlightened people and all. So I wanted to really meet one person and just ask him and to find the truth, and how they are, like how they view the world. And I wanted to meet someone of like that. And so I was so after breaking the ice, and after kind of doing a little bit of talking, so I asked this person, how do I meet saints? So where do I get to meet them? So he told me, calm your mind, the saints or the masters will meet you. That was kind of pretty amazing. I mean, this is such a powerful statement. I hope you get the kind of a depth in the statement. Calm your mind, and the master will meet you. So again, right, as I told you, a lot of things were going on in my mind. And the thing about the mind is it's a part of Maya. So it doesn't really let you to experience, to see, or to experience the truth, because the truth or the masters of God are right here, right around us, but we are unable to see it because of our mind or because of Maya. This sort of struck me when he told that, because I was again in my own head, thinking about various things. So, and this was sort of a wake up call for me, because I then realized that with just this speculation, with just this sort of a thinking, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to experience the truth. So this truth isn't, some sort of a logical explanation that you get. It is sort of something which is beyond the logic. It's beyond the logic, and it just has to be experienced. And if experienced, I'm not sure if the person who has experienced it can actually communicate it to to someone who has not experienced it, because because it's kind of beyond the imagination. So we are practically not trained to experience it. No, I mean, if you're not getting it, I'll give you an example, right? Let's say there's a mango. Now, how do you even know it's a mango, right? So you because you see that yellow fruit, and you say your mind instantly says it's a mango. But how do you know it's a mango? It's because you have been programmed from childhood that this sort of a shape with this sort of a taste and this sort of a smell, it is a mango. If that programming isn't there, then that's like a normal object. You wouldn't even know. Like, it's just there, right? So this sort of so that's the thing with the mind. So our mind doesn't really help us to experience. So it is useful on one level, on the physical plane, but if we were to experience the divine, or if we were to let the divine experience to flow in, we really have to get the mind out of the way. That is the real secret. And so now the question comes as to how do we do that. So again, the answer lies in the statement that that the disciple of the saint gave me. He told, you got to calm your mind, because if I'm not wrong, there is a sort of, I'm not sure about the statistic, but it goes somewhere along the lines of like a billion thoughts, or a million, or a billion, or how many it is, thoughts are being processed every single day. And all of this is at an unconscious level. We don't even know that it's being processed, but it's going on in the back of our mind without our knowledge. And that is having an impact of what we experience in our daily life. Now, if I have to, again, so-called logically explain you what, if I had to explain you, now let me ask you this question. If you were to imagine, if you were to visualize any particular thing, will you get it? Do you get it? Now, let's say, so let's say there's this phone, right? Now, let's say I want a new phone, right? Let's say I want a new phone. Now, okay, so let's say you want a new phone, right? Now, you visualize it. You imagine the phone. You want the phone, right? Do you get it? Now, the phone may not be of, I mean, this is an example. I just cooked it out just now. I have not at all prepared. A phone may not be of a great example, because a phone is kind of accessible, but my point here is, if you want something which is like kind of unreachable to you, let's say, I mean, an example, let's say someone is earning $5,000, right? And he wants something which is $50,000. Now, that is sort of something which is unreachable to him. Now, if that person who's earning $5,000, if he were to visualize $50,000, would he get it? And will he get it immediately? Is the question. Theoretically, yes, he can get it, but it doesn't happen. The reason is because of all these thoughts that are going on in the mind. Now, this thought, right? I want something of this $50,000 value. Now, that is just a single thought. And there is this whole million thoughts of so random, so, it's completely in the negative direction. negative. I mean, this is a dualistic word, but I gotta explain because if I'm gonna explain things to people, if I have to reach a lot of people with my message, I got to kind of play the dualistic game. Again, I got to see a bit how to figure this out. So, I mean, by positive, I mean something somewhere where we want to go, and by negative, I mean somewhere where we don't want to go, where we think that that's not where we have to be. So, this majority of these millions of thoughts are aligned in the negative direction, and we have a very few thoughts which are in this positive direction. So, where do you think we'll get to? We are not going to get that. We are not going to get that thing which is $50,000. That's the reason why 99% of the people don't get what they want. It's because of all these kind of stupid thoughts unconsciously that is running on in the mind. So the key here is to become aware of the thoughts and to let go of the thoughts, calm the mind. So what happens when you really calm the mind, right? When you calm the mind, this million thoughts is gone. I mean, you can't expect yourself to come from a million thoughts to zero. I mean, it's a kind of a process. So it reduces million to 100,000 to a 10,000 to a thousand to a hundred to zero. Now, if you're at zero, then then like sky is the hope, and that is the sort of level that the saints, the gods, and the mystics are at. Now, I mean, of course, our aim should be to come to that zero, but again, we don't really have to be at zero, because if you're at zero, the moment you think of a phone, you get the phone. So because you understand that reality is nothing but just a projection of your thoughts and beliefs. So the reason why, but for us it seems like this phone is a totally different object. It's coming from somewhere. We need to get the money from somewhere. We have a whole kind of a programming that is totally counterproductive. So our aim is to calm the mind. So when we have that calm mind and when we set an intention, whatever we want comes into fruition. So this is more of attaining the materialistic sort of things, which is fine because this materialistic word has a sort of a negative vibe attached to it, which is totally fine. And unless you're attached to it, you can experience all the material things. But as long as you're detached from it, it's totally fine, right? So this again, so our main idea from about this video was about the saints or the mystics that will reach you, all the masters that will reach you when you calm your mind. Now the thing is, if some higher wisdom has to set in, the things that are contradicting to this higher wisdom has to be released. And what do these masters, why do masters or saints come into our life? It's to impart wisdom, right? So if we don't have that free space, that empty space to accept this wisdom, is there really a point when the masters come in? Even if they were to, you wouldn't get what they are telling you. You will not get it. You're just gonna keep carrying on with whatever you're doing. But when you calm your mind, when you create that space, you're ready to accept the new wisdom to come in. That's when the masters will come. Now, I mean, and that's when they'll come and they'll give you all the knowledge that you need. Now here again, a very pretty misconception is that, okay, a master is going to come. So how is he going to look? Is he going to come in the physical form? How is he going to dress? So these sort of questions are there. Masters or God or saints, anyone can manifest in any form. Their only intention is to impart wisdom to you. It can be through a book, it can be through a video, it can be through just a conversation, it can be through something you look on the billboard, it can be through any form. you will be directed to that wisdom. And when will you be directed? It is when you are ready to accept that wisdom. When you are ready both at a conscious level and at an unconscious level or a subconscious level. Because I was consciously willing to accept all this higher wisdom, all the truth back then, but I wasn't ready actually. I mean, I consciously wanted it, but I had all these thoughts. I was mentally not ready. So I had to wait. I had to wait for the right time for the wisdom to set in. So that's the message from this video. I hope you enjoyed this video and it has added value to you. So the key takeaway here is calm your mind and the master will meet you. The wisdom will meet you. You will get what you want. The key here is to calm your mind. Ingrain it in your mind. Alright. So I hope again you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like it, share it to people whom you think they need this sort of a content, and do subscribe to the channel for more updates. And also I will share more and more of my experiences like these, like with various disciples and mystics and saints. And so stay tuned. Goodbye.